All right. Thanks for coming. Please take your seat. Yeah, so today we are going to talk about EventStorming. So let's start with what this talk is not about, okay? So this talk is not about how to become an expert in EventStorming in 40 minutes. Okay, so I know it's impossible because I am actually running training in EventStorming. My name is Vadzim. I'm a co-owner and instructor at the Tech. So we run training in architecture, domain-driven design, test-driven development, Spring, and EventStorming, of course. And I work as well as a hands-on architect at Apotek 1. We call it in Norway Apotek 1. Yes, and Apotek 1 is actually the biggest pharmacy chain in Norway, and it's as well a part of a bigger Phoenix Group, European company, which is presented in Poland as Pharma Polska. Yes, a bit some photos of my private life. Yeah, so I'm a father of 2 daughters. I enjoy nature, skiing, playing the guitar, fishing, making some goodies for my family, and I try to do all of those with my family. Okay, so my today's goal is to show how EventStorming can be useful for developers. So this is a conference, this is a developers conference. So my talk will be like focused mostly on who is writing the code, it's not a talk for managers. It's not a talk for managers. Okay, you're still here, good. So, and my goal is to inspire you to consider using EventStorming when you are back at work. So tomorrow you're back at work and you just say to your manager, let's try this. It's a very good tool. All right, so we'll see if I can do that. So by the way, in the end of the talk, I will tell you 2 funny stories about EventStorming. So please remind me, okay, if I forget. All right. So first of all, let's start with some context. The question to you, do you agree that a lot of people work on projects they actually don't understand? Okay, most of you. Right. So as developers, often we are just given some tasks. Please change this, add this field. However, like what problem am I solving? Could it be solved better? Or am I, for example, I'm focusing on some part. Let's say I'm writing some background jobs or maybe modifying some service, but I have no idea about another integration, another third-party services. On like what another parts my colleagues are currently working on. It doesn't contribute kind of a good software design, right? And in good code, because there is like a lack of that understanding. All right, the next one. Systems often contain wrong developers' assumptions about functions and dependencies rather than knowledge of domain experts. Who agrees on that? All right, still some hands. Yes, so which this actually means that because of lack of time, right, lack of communication, lack of knowledge, we as developers have to make decisions on our own, or maybe with a neighbor colleague. Yeah, we don't communicate enough with the business, and those decisions about how the code should work just goes to production. Sometimes we don't even think about end user behavior, and we just focus on the technical part. All right. Next one. Nobody knows the whole truth about the system, but everybody knows a part of it. Yes? Agree, all agree. And it actually doesn't concern only developers. It concerns like developers, testers, project managers, other like business analysts and whatever. Every person knows its own part. Sometimes we see some intersections. However, there is no like a common understanding, common overview. And now I'm talking not about like a wish list in your organization. I'm talking about like a bigger systems. All right, next one. Did you experience the following? One architect spends a lot of time on gathering requirements, like talking to people, and then that architect pretends that developers will quickly understand what they will implement. Did you experience the following? Having those superstar architect, maybe some of you were like such an architect. Yes, I was at some point as well. Everybody is relying on me because, yeah, I know everything, right? What can go wrong after that? That architect disappears. Real life story. I can't say anything bad about that guy because it was really nice and smart guy. So he spent like about 1 year talking to different people, sitting in different meetings, just writing documentation, adding some diagrams, and then he quit. So do you think it will be easy for developers just to grab that documentation and implement the system? One more. What will the next architect do? Probably the same. Yeah. All right. So enough context. What can help us? First of all, discovering implicit dependencies on the business level, which means knowing end user behavior, maybe market trends, maybe third-party systems you want to integrate with, things like that. Something that is not, let's say, explicitly defined in your code. Transferring the knowledge between important people, like a domain experts, developers, testers, etc. So the knowledge transfer. Discovering the most important events and problems, like a bottlenecks, legal restrictions, so you name it. All the things we would like to know beforehand, before we write the code. Not like along the way. Along the way it's more painful, right? Because it leads to that we need to refactor it, change it, and then it's like more time to deliver, to market, and things like that. Yeah. And solving business problems rather than implementing requirements. Now when I hear like please give me your requirements, I just get stressed because I almost hate this phrase. Please give me your requirements. I really like to say to people, like, what's your problem? What's your challenge today? How can I help you? How can we solve it? All right. So next time you will hear, please give me your requirements, it should be a red flag for you. Something goes wrong here. Okay. All right. However, we have just talked about what's wrong, what's good. Still, it's too abstract. I think you have heard it multiple times. Yeah, in your organization, you should have a very good culture, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, and how to actually achieve it? Yeah, it's hard to know. So, could it be closer to the code? I'll do my best. So, now, let's imagine. Before writing the code, if you had the following. Let's say this is your class from your domain package, and you know it beforehand. Then you know about your future API. It can be REST API and can be public methods, but you know it beforehand. Then you know what types of users will work in your system. You know what kind of information will be helpful for users in order to make their decisions. Then you know some complex business rules that can be influenced and that can have impact on creating new APIs. You know everything about your events, which in event-driven architecture can be just almost 100% be replicated in your code. You know about external systems you will integrate with, and you know about some problems you want to discuss inside your team with the business in order to solve them. Then, beforehand, you have cluster of those. Of what I showed before. You have a cluster of those classes and all this knowledge. Then you have information about your services, or you can, I don't like the word microservices, but about your services, let's say, yeah. And in domain-driven design, we say bounded context. Wouldn't it be nice to have it before you start coding? Who agrees? Before you start coding, before you, yeah. And you can imagine that this can be done in hours. In hours. Sounds like a magic, right? So now I can say, and this is basically a result of an EventStorming session, and I can say that as an architect at Apotec 1, Apotec N, so I will never start any new project, any new activity without EventStorming, because I like the result, because it can be achieved in hours. All right, so let's understand EventStorming a bit better. So first of all, let's define it. So EventStorming, it's a workshop where we bring together all the interested parties, like developers, business experts, project managers, so whoever interested in your system. And we run a massive collaboration exploration of your domain. And EventStorming runs in hours instead of days, weeks, or months. So this is EventStorming. Some examples. Those are not made up, real people working together, having fun. Okay? So this is like a main elements of EventStorming. You don't need to memorize all of them, but it explains like how everything works together. So you can see that EventStorming contains of different elements and their dependencies. So by the way, so EventStorming is basically it's a collaboration tool, and we run it mostly physically in one room between people, and we use sticky notes of different colors, nothing more. All right, so let's just take a look at how to run actually EventStorming in your organization. There is no like a magic. It's simple, very simple. However, I need to omit some details because we have limited time. Yeah, but you will get the idea. First of all, we start with invitations. We don't start with running EventStorming. We start with invitations because invitations are very important. You need to know who you will invite to your session. So what do you want to do is to try to invite as many people as you can that who are important for the exploration. And we basically have two types of people. People with questions. Who are good at questions? Developers, of course. Developers are good, very good at questions. And who are good at answers. Yeah, those are your domain experts that are interested in, yeah, and users as well. Yeah, so you just invite all of them. One caveat, some of them won't show up. So depending on your organization, so you will have to plan it in advance, maybe 1 month before, 2 months before, I don't know. However, almost everybody has families, maybe sickness and so on, so you need to think about backups. So there should be like at least 2 persons for who knows every part of your like a future system or domain. Okay, and there should be a special role like a facilitator who actually responsible for workshop preparation, explanation of what to do, like a management of long conversations. Some people maybe are not so like speaking friendly to each other, so it's as well on the shoulders of the facilitator. Yeah, but there should be a role of facilitator who actually does this job. All right, so you're done with invitations. So you're waiting for people. Now you need to set up a room. So what will it look like? So first of all, we need a long straight wall. Yeah, depending on your projects. So depending on the amount of people, for example, for 15 people and more, it should be like at least 8 meters long. Yeah, and you just hang this paper roll where you will work, and that's it about the wall. Yeah, the seats are not easily available, which means that people don't sit when they work. Yep, so usually people come with their laptops. It's just you know, usual picture with laptops, and you just say, okay, please just put it on this stack of the other laptops, so we don't need them. Okay, so there should be enough space to move. So rooms with those, like, you know, long rooms, but with those big tables where people can just sit only, they are not perfect match. So we need to have plenty of sticky notes and markers for everyone. Yeah, the better extra if you have. So it should be enough healthy food, and you should have a legend just to remind people what means what. And there should be a timer visible to everyone, so we don't run it. So event storming will consist of some phases, and you don't run them like, you know, we are done when we are done. No, it's time boxed phases. All right, let's start with the next phase. It's called the chaotic exploration. Why it's chaotic? Because it's really unordered. So you just take orange sticky note. Each one people just get a bunch of orange sticky notes and writes domain events. Domain events is something important that has happened. Let's say order placed, purchase failed, and things like that. So the main goal is just to take everything that sits in the heads of everyone and just put on the board in whatever order. So you don't care about the order here. You just put all the knowledge people have just on the board. And it usually takes like a 10-15 minutes. Yeah. All right, so why is it useful for you as a developer? So first of all, so it's a first step to find the common vocabulary for the participants. So now some names for your future models will start emerge, yeah, which is really nice. Everyone's knowledge starts to be visible to others. You will may experience some surprises. Okay, something I didn't put on the wall, and okay, I didn't know that actually it's useful. All right, and most of the events will be events in your code. So then you will copy it to your code base. All right, so we are done with this one, and now we are going to enforcing timeline. So now we need to play those events in order according to the time. So there are different techniques. I won't go to every technique, but usually you start with so-called pivotal events. So you select the most important events in your system. Yeah. For example, you select like in my case it was dispute. For example, dispute opened, dispute resolved. So those are the most important events in scope of dispute, and you do it and place all of them on the wall. All right, and then you have different techniques like a swim lanes. For example, some of the events can run in parallel. You just realize it. They just don't depend on each other. So you just draw a small swim lane and you just place all of them like one above others, right? So the main goal here is to make an order. So what is happening here? So pivotal events and swim lanes can help you identify service boundaries in the future. So you will see that probably they will have an impact on how you will define your microservices. Okay, and the understanding of the system gets better, and many questions arise to domain experts. It's just blow up of the questions, and some of them cannot be answered, and they turn to hotspots. So we call hotspots those red sticky notes where nobody can answer right now, but maybe you will get to it later. Sometimes as a facilitator, you have to think about long discussions, and if you experience very long discussion, go into small detail and just talking about just one single orange sticky note, you should stop it and just create a hotspots. Yeah. All right. Next one is to define actor systems and hotspots. So we need to find roles, and we can call it roles, people, actors, personas. So those are like most important user roles who are interacting with your system. And we define as well external system. As I'm not sure what is the color is, like a pink or how the purple? Okay, purple. Okay, so this is a purple. All right, my eyesight, yeah, is kind of, yeah. Yeah, so you define external system as well. You need to find them. And then you define some hotspots. Again, it will be even more questions. And depending on your like a process, what you explore, sometimes people can also define some opportunities. Oh, actually here we can do that, it will bring us more money, or maybe more like a user retention. All right, let's place it here. We need to remember it. And then like optionally you can run as well like voting. So each person just can cast 2 votes, and you just place them as like those blue sticky notes, and now you know like which hotspots are most important, let's say, in your system. Then you again you have like a priority in which order those hotspots needs to be discussed. All right, so why is it useful for you as a developer? You get even more knowledge about who will use the system, and user behavior is important, as you remember from the beginning of the talk. External systems show the integrations you will implement. It's really important to know for developers what kind of integrations you will have. It's really important. And these parts usually leads to even more unanswered questions, which means hotspots. All right. So far so good. We go to the next step, which is process modeling. On the process during the process modeling, now we just we can actually stop for today. Depending on the system, we can actually stop for today, and we can call into, let's say, other meetings in smaller groups and just explore parts of your systems even more, and even go to some details. And here we have more elements. Yeah. So for example, we define commands. So commands are users' intentions. Let's say you have a command place order, and for the event order placed. Yeah. So you just define, and commands, as you remember, will be your future public APIs, right? You define read models. Those are green, like sticky notes, and those read models, those can actually, you define there like is there any information, additional information required for users to make their decisions or not? You define it as read models. Usually they stick to some UI decisions. Yep, and you define policies. So policy is some like an important business rule that can as well influence your future process. Sometimes you define a policy and then, okay, so let's say whenever dispute gets accepted by a user, sometimes we can actually automatically resolve disputes. We don't need to manually resolve them, and that will be additional policy. Like whenever dispute can be resolved automatically, you will run a new command: resolve dispute automatically, close dispute automatically, and for example, domain event dispute closed. All right, so now it's not software design yet, but you just go closer and closer. So commands heavily contribute to your future API design. Read models can help you with UI-related decisions, and policies may turn to important domain logic in your code. Next phase, finding bounded contexts. Yeah, so now you explore like a vocabulary, roles, and this is a technical meeting. This is more technical meeting. So you just explore vocabulary. You got the roles, related business scenarios, importance of different parts, and then you can see the groups, kind of clusters of all the events, and probably you define, okay, so here we're talking about disputes. So probably it will be some application that will be responsible for working with disputes. And here we have like a, let's say, something about like a payment successful, payment succeeded, payment failed, and things like that. Okay, so this will be our payment bounded context. And the nice thing that everybody sees it. So you don't have those meetings like people just sitting and just orally say something, and they just make notes in their laptops, and you don't know what actually that person is thinking about now. Now it's visible to everyone what's going on. Okay, and everybody kind of agrees on that. So why is it useful? So you will understand this, what services you will have. So those are bounded context. And like a final step, let's say, it's discovering aggregates. So now we are get even closer to the code, like it's from domain-driven design, aggregates. I'm not sure like who is familiar with domain-driven design over here? Yeah? Half? Yeah. So who is not familiar? So you can treat aggregates as the most important classes in your domain package. Yep. So based on the life cycle, let's say you see some events, like for example you're doing some auction, and you have auction started, auction, let's say bid accepted, things like that. And then you just define, okay, so this one will be something related to auction, this will be something related to maybe bid history, something like that. So you define your aggregates. All right, so aggregates are the most important classes in your domain model. And this is a result actually of an event storming. Yeah. So now you have kind of your software design made in hours. That's basically it. However, maybe you have still some like questions arising in your heads. All right, sounds maybe like a magic. Maybe I will try it, but will it give me 100% solution all the time? So I would say no. EventStorming is not a golden hammer. So please don't think that it will always give you 100% solution. You can assume that some events can be missed and things like that. But anyways, it's a cheap, good hammer, right? So it's just worth using it. Yeah, just try it. You will be surprised by the good result achieved in hours, really. So one more, is EventStorming about any hard rules? Okay, so you Vadzim, you just have talked about I need to run this phase, this phase, this phase. So please remember, so there is no like a hard rules about running EventStorming, about what kind of colors of sticky notes you use. If you don't have those lilac sticky notes, kind of don't worry, you can use other color. Or if you, let's say, while ordering the events, you just identify, okay, so this is important business rule. No, we need to wait for the next phase when we deal with policies. No, there is no rule like that. You just take the sticky notes, domain policy, business policy, and just stick it on the wall. Okay, so as a facilitator, you actually create an illusion that everything is under control. However, it's not. So when we run training with my friend Marek, we don't know what will happen at all. But we end up with the same result. Okay, so now we kind of don't worry. It will emerge. However, people think that we control everything. So this is like a role of facilitator to do that. So when to stop event storming? So it's really up to you. So you can be, let's say, okay, I defined my bounded context aggregates, I'm fine, I go coding. Or you can digitalize it, just copy it to some maybe Miro board, and then you can as well come back to it from time to time. Maybe newbies as well will be interested in it, and just keep it up to date. So it's really up to you. There is no hard rules about it as well. Next one, can I run it? Can I run EventStorming online because we work remotely? Yes, you can. However, there are many caveats. So it's another like at least 15 minutes talk how to run EventStorming online. So if you have a possibility to meet with people in the room, I would just recommend to do it. So don't run it online unless you can't meet physically. So you sit in Poland and then someone sits in Australia. So yeah, so probably in this case, yes. Otherwise, please meet together. There are many like problems you may experience with running EventStorming online. So like in short words, what is EventStorming? So like if you ask me, like, okay, so for me, EventStorming is the best starting point I can get in hours. Thank you very much. Rate my talk. That's basically it.